In a month or two, I'll be one of the few proud fathers of the new generation beta. My whole life I've wanted kids, but there's been sort of this hesitation in the Gen Z cultural zeitgeist that's kept me from, believing that it could happen or that I should do it for the longest time.
Parents had kids by the time they were my age, but we would not be able to afford to have a child now.
Most people our age can barely afford to live for themselves.
All of the people who are under 50 who don't currently have children, almost half of them say they never want children.
When are you having children? Children? I'm not having children. You don't want children? No.
A lot of people don't want to bring kids into this world with like the current climate.
People feel like children are a burden.
The way I've come to see it is that it's a great opportunity to actually put into effect all of the wisdom that I believe we've learned from watching all the other previous generations fail miserably at creating a great world and a great life. So it's our chance to put all of that kind of Gen Z angst into something so that they can grow and live in the world that we would want them to live in, that we wanted for ourselves when we were kids. Unless you're one of those who want humanity to kind of die out completely, having kids is something that a lot of us are going to have to do. So naturally, taking on this giant responsibility for myself and my family, I've been thinking a lot about how I want to structure our life and our lifestyle to give my daughter the best shot at living in the world that I dreamed could exist for me when I was a kid. And I thought that would be valuable to share with people, especially my age, who aren't sure if they should have kids or aren't sure if they could have kids. I went ahead and put together a little list of things that were kind of non-negotiable for me as prerequisites for having a child. Number one on my list is honestly probably the biggest barrier of entry to anyone in my generation trying to have a family. And that would be a supportive homemaking wife. Not only are daycare costs way too high, but your child is being raised by somebody you don't even know. All your meals are coming from takeout services or, wherever, or you're just busy as hell.
You can see Liliana in the play area while other children are sitting at the tables. A teacher notices Liliana, grabs her by the arms, and pulls her to an area off camera. A worker, who the couple tells me is the daycare's owner and director, is heard on camera.
Again, I get her stressfulness and because the other teacher's not helping. I said, well, nobody's telling me stuff.
Both parents say that wasn't the accountability they were looking for.
The hardest thing about this is actually finding the scenario where you yourself can financially support a family while your wife can't afford and want to do all the things that run a home. We're so divided and pitted against one another now that it feels like it might be impossible to find somebody to actually do this with. But there is a biological drive in women to have children. So you kind of have to find one who's kind of structured their model of how they're gonna live their life in this way and having kids and raising a family. And that way they'll be going into the relationship, that's kind of what they're hoping it builds into. You need to be straight up with the people that you're talking to romantically, that's what you want. And I think you'll find that there are people who will agree with you. There are women out there who will agree with you, and you'll be able to do this. Number two for my child is ample boredom, or a space that facilitates ample boredom. To me, boredom is like a generator for a kid's brain, or for an adult's brain. If you're bored, you'll do the things that you want to do or need to do. If you're not bored, or you don't get bored, or you have cope available and distraction, then you'll end up kind of in this little pit of despair, I don't think this is controversial anymore to say, but there will be no scrolling on an iPad for my child. And this, of course, means that my wife and I also have to live a relatively boring life. We're not focusing our life around activities and events and, all this kind of stuff.
We slept in!
We're we're focusing on leisure time, which is what I believe is the creative engine for a child and how they develop an actual personality and actual interests. Just take a look at any one of the countless videos online about the zombied out Gen Alpha kids, and that'll give you an idea of what I'm trying to avoid here. Number 3, that heavily goes along with number 2, is a proper environment to grow up in. Now, my wife and I moved out of our big city, which is a relatively mid-sized city, to a small town where we have family around. I have some land in this area as well. It's undeveloped. I don't have a house on the land. We're now renting an apartment in the town nearby. But this land is out in the woods somewhere, and our plan is eventually just to build on this land. We'll have, a garden, we'll have chickens, and this is actually an attainable goal here. It wouldn't be an attainable goal 2 hours north or 2 hours south, where the cities are. This also means that I have to find employment or self-employment available to me within the smaller community, and I have to structure my life around living in a smaller space with less opportunity. These are the kinds of things that I have to think about when I think about raising my daughter. When I was a kid, I got lucky. I actually grew up in the small town that I moved back to. And so I'm familiar with the area, and I'm familiar with what it's like as a kid to grow up with woods and a tree house and a stream in the backyard and wildlife animals running around. And that's something that I really, really want for my kid. This sort of environment allows for kind of safe exploration and creativity. It allows for kids to be off on their own and experience life kind of without a helicopter parent hovering around them. If you don't have screens, but if you have a 5-acre backyard woods, what are you going to do with your day? Now, the fourth thing will come into play mostly when she's a little bit older, but that's the access to information. Now, out of this boredom zone in this small town, what is there really to do? Well, to me, I have this great love for learning things, and I think all humans have a love for learning things. They just don't have a love for being forced to. So the main thing that's important to me to have accessible in the home for my child is just a bunch of information. And if I don't have the information, it's on me to go find it for her. I want her to be able to facilitate her knowledge and kind of a budding wisdom. I'm looking for my child to really be able to dig their teeth into the world and the things that they're interested in. Whatever she wants, whatever she's into, this is the type of thing that I'm going to spend my money on. Another huge thing in our life and our plan that fits into this category is homeschooling. Instead of enrolling our child into the school system so that we can have a little break or whatever, we're going to take her through the grade school system and also do it fast enough, with enough intensity, with enough guidance, that she'll be able to spend extra time on other pursuits. It would keep from a lot of frustration with learning in general. Obviously, this is really hard to do without the setup that, I'm going for, which is exactly why I'm doing all of these things. Kind of every block builds on top of the other. The fifth point, and possibly my favorite and also the most controversial point, is that for my daughter in her life, there won't be any pressure on her to succeed in the modern sense. We'll, of course, make sure she pursues the things that she cares about and help her when she falls down, which she inevitably will. But our responsibility as parents does not end when the child's 16 or 18 or whenever the hell people think it does. If she picks up a hobby or a passion that she can turn into a profession that she loves, we're not going to force her, obviously, to stay with us. But if she does as I did, it took me a while, it's still taking me a while to figure out exactly what it is that I can do within this dumb system to make money that gives me a shred of joy or a shred of enjoyment. I don't expect her to have that all figured out at any point in her life. Honestly, if you're going to bring a child into the world, it's your responsibility forever. They never asked to be here. I understand this may be a controversial opinion. Certainly it would be for older folks. Hopefully some more younger folks are watching this video that might agree with me, or might even feel like, annoyed that their parents don't also have this kind of mindset that, you brought me here, but you don't really take care of me. A lot of people just live for themselves. I'm looking to live for my family. We're all gonna be together, In the end, of course, I know, life's not all sunshine and rainbows, and no matter what I do, there's still a whole world out there that can mess my kid up. I certainly went off on my own, I rebelled, and I found my way. And I think this is what makes a child kind of grow that deeper maturity or deeper understanding about the world. And that's something I also wish to cultivate in my child, You know, it's not only about making life super easy for them, but also being there when it's hard, you know? And I've experienced hard things myself. I know how to support people through that, and I know when to leave them be. And so this video is outlining all of the ways that I think the world should be for kids, and me setting my life up in a way to be the parent that that child needs. If you think somewhere deep down you want kids, but you're not sure if you should, or you're not sure if you can, just think about these few things. Think about setting your life up for a family, rather than setting your life up for financial success, or for your own personal success, or for the thoughts and opinions of others. More importantly, think about actually the steps that it would take. It doesn't cost that much to have a child. It costs more when they're older and they want to do stuff. But you know, as long as your wife or your mother can breastfeed, you know, food's pretty cheap. Diapers, sure, you can get cloth diapers. You can make substitutions. You can make sacrifices for all of these things. The one thing you can't make sacrifices for is lifestyle. And lifestyle has nothing to do with money. Lifestyle has everything to do with how it feels to be in your home and how it feels to be your kid. Anyway, so if you're planning to have kids, cheers to you. You know, maybe we can hang out, or if you have kids and you try all this stuff and you've run into pitfalls, please let me know. Obviously, this is my first child, so. And if you disagree with the way that I've set up my life, you know, then feel free to chime in. So anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers, and we'll see you again soon.